Okay, well this is it. This is the last Sunday in our 7-week fall series. We've been working with the book Living Originally by Robert Brummett. We've been focusing on 5 basic practices that are really designed to bring about a transformational change in consciousness. And the key word in all of this is transformation. Back when we started this series, I mentioned there's this ongoing shift in how the younger generation views traditional religion, those folks that they call the millennials. And I think it's safe to say that when it comes to religion, they don't like it. No, sir, they don't like it one bit. They're not just walking away, they're running away in droves. They've become the spiritual but not religious generation, the unaffiliated. They don't want the rigid and dogmatic religion of the 19th century, you know, the kind of religion that's afraid to let people think and ask questions and things like that. And they're not so interested in the new and improved Hollywood version of religion, which is like a cross between a Broadway musical and a rock concert. It's very entertaining, but it doesn't offer anything of lasting substance. It doesn't lead to any meaningful change. You know, by the time you get home and your ears have stopped ringing, you've forgotten the message. You've forgotten what it was all about. So what the world is ready for is something that leads to a deep, meaningful, and lasting change. And the word for that kind of change is transformation. And what Robert has given us in this book is not just another New Age fad. This isn't just another New Age self-help book. This is a disciplined process that combines the ancient practices of meditation with our latest scientific understanding of the human brain, of the human mind, and human behavior. If we want to improve the human condition, we have to change the way we think. That means we have to change it at the level of consciousness. It doesn't happen by magic. It doesn't happen by just reading a self-help book. So much of what passes for spirituality today is superficial, and it's based on magical thinking. It's like changing our clothes. The fashion, the style may be different. We may look different on the outside. It may even feel better. And yet, underneath the new clothes, everything is still the same. Whatever effect there is, it's temporary. And so when that wears off, then off we go looking for the next self-help book, looking for the next weekend workshop or some guru somewhere with simple answers, preferably in an exotic location somewhere other than right here. Transformation is different. This isn't just putting on another pair of clothes. It's not just a change in appearance. It's the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. A complete dissolution of the former self and the emergence of something that's totally different and new. Nothing wrong with being a caterpillar. Being a caterpillar might have been fun. It was certainly comfortable, but that's not our destiny. The old self has to die in order to make way for the new, and that isn't always comfortable. It isn't always fun, and it means that we have to work at it. It takes action, it takes effort, it takes discipline. These practices are designed to lead us back to our origin, to our original self, hence the name Living Originally, what we call the true self. And this is an idea that we see starting to really catch on in the world beyond the halls of unity. Just last week I was doing some research, and I came across something in an essay that I want to share with you this morning. Here's the quote. "We are all conditioned. We are all conditioned, programmed, wounded, addicted, repetitive, habituated, and compulsive in our brain processes, which indeed largely determines the content of what gets in and what stays out. True free will is largely a myth, as most of us initially operate almost entirely out of conditioning and culture." might interest you to know that this was from an article written by Father Richard Rohr, who's a Franciscan priest. Check out the title to the article here on this next page. The article was called Getting Back to Our First Nature, Why the Mind is Key. And again, this was just written last week, a couple of weeks ago. Getting back to our first nature, our original nature, our true self. They all mean the same thing. And the key is it has to be worked at the level of consciousness or the level of mind. Here's some more from the same article. He says the problem is not what we think, as much as our universal entrapment in our own compulsive way of thinking. The problem only becomes clear when we fully realize that we are all victims of the mind and its hardwiring. The human capacity for true inner freedom is initially quite small in all of us because our mammalian brain pretty much runs the show until love, suffering, or meditation expands it. I want you to be aware of Father Richard because you're going to be seeing and hearing more from him, I'm sure. He's one of the progressive voices in the Catholic Church who is one of our allies in this work that we're doing. And this can really add to and expand the practices that Robert talks about in his book. When we see the same thing being presented from a different perspective, that adds to what we know. That enriches what we know. And that's what a good student does. We study something from multiple perspectives and we look for the similarities. That's how we arrive at greater unity instead of more separation. When I read Father Richard's article, I found a different perspective. And yet, the ultimate goal is the same as what Robert is telling us. We want to increase our capacity for true inner freedom. This is a way of liberation. We want to be more focused on the true, the good, and the beautiful. We want to expand our circle of caring and compassion to include everyone on earth and the earth itself. We want that circle to be as big as we can imagine it. That's what true liberation and inner freedom is all about. So, each year, when we do our fall series, we set it up intentionally, as you might have gathered, to end on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, because gratitude and appreciation are an indispensable part of any truly spiritual path. And one of the themes that you probably noticed running through Robert's book is the power of appreciation and acceptance. Learning how to love what is. That's the essence of gratitude. Learning to be grateful for what we have. Learning to love what is without insisting on that ego-driven desire to change it, to push it away, to make it go away. So, here we are. We're approaching the season of gratitude, something that's supposed to be a celebration of gratitude and appreciation. And each year, have you noticed, as Thanksgiving draws near, there always seems to be a voice or two or three, a gloomy and doomy voice that insists that we should be focusing on the negative. You know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, it's too commercial. It's too materialistic, right? Some people just love to stir up trouble. They can't be happy unless they're living in this permanent state of outrage about something. And I guess that's a part of the human condition. There's always people who, when they see the light at the end of the tunnel, they think it's an oncoming train. And maybe the one good thing that you can say about being a pessimist is that you'll never be disappointed. But who wants to be around someone like that, right? I mean, who wants to be around someone who is always in this constant state of complaining, criticism, darkness, doom, and gloom? You know, we can't appreciate the good things in life and work for greater justice and peace. Those things are not mutually exclusive. This Thanksgiving, do what you want. Do what fills you, whether that be food or service or football. Enjoy some good food. In fact, enjoy lots of good food. There's nothing wrong with a feast. However, if you should overindulge, I have a little something that you can use in that situation. This is very cosmic, so follow along with me here, okay? Since the Big Bang, 14 billion years ago, the universe has been expanding, like a balloon being inflated. The distance between galaxies as well as atoms is increasing every moment of every day. The universe is expanding, and so is everything in it. Even me, the guy says after Thanksgiving dinner, and his wife says, or maybe you're just eating too much, and he says, nope, it's science. So, just remember at the end of dinner, before you go, I don't know, rolling out of the dining room, it's science. It's science. We can appreciate the good things in life, and you know what? If there's something about Black Friday that really, really bothers you, don't complain about it. Channel that energy into something positive. We've got those 2 red barrels out there that Karen talked about. Get some food, get some unwrapped toys that go into those barrels. Later on, they take those and they turn them into Christmas baskets. A complete meal, toys for the kids that are delivered to 500 or more families here in Auburn. That's a great thing to do. That might help some nameless local child to get to experience the same kind of Christmas, the same kind of holiday that we want our own children to experience. If you don't like the idea of Black Friday, another positive alternative is something they call Shop Small Saturday. Patronize the smaller local businesses on Saturday, things like that. You know, we don't advance the cause of awakening by browbeating others and complaining about things. We advance the cause of awakening by modeling awakened behavior, which brings us to the last chapter in Robert's book, which is called I Am the Author of My Life. There's a paragraph here which I think pretty much sums up the essence of the book. Here's what he says. Transformational spiritual practice does not focus on changing life circumstances, but focuses on changing the seeker herself. Transformational practice focuses not upon having what you want, but upon authentically being that which you truly are. What you truly are is infinitely more than anything the mind can conjure as necessary for happiness. Be what you truly are, and you will always have what you truly want. So we can choose to go through life asleep, resentful because life won't change to meet our expectations, or we can choose to be awake and joyful. Take some responsibility for changing ourselves. Which one do you think works better? A few years back, Garrison Keillor, the writer and narrator of A Prairie Home Companion, well-known author, he wrote a Thanksgiving essay called All the Trimmings, where he said this. He said, none of us is self-sufficient. Every good thing, every morsel of food comes directly from God, who expects us to pay attention and be joyful. A large task for people from the Midwest, where our idea of a compliment is, it could have been worse. I'm a Midwesterner. Those are my people, so I can attest that that's basically true. Yeah, it really is a powerful formula. Wake up, pay attention, and be joyful. That's a formula. You put an equal sign after it. That equals gratefulness. And gratefulness equals great fullness. To be filled with the joy of living. Some of you might be thinking food, but to be filled with the joy of living. The idea is to be filled to the point where it overflows. And that's when we get to the point where we can pass it along. We give what we've gained because we're filled to overflowing with it. And it starts with paying attention and being joyful. That's one of the definitions of gratitude, by the way, that we get from another progressive voice in the Catholic universe, Brother David Stendhal-Rast, who's made gratefulness the entire focus of his ministry. It's not just a metaphysical theory. It has real life consequences. We can see from a study that Yale University did a few years back they concluded that being optimistic in middle age will increase your life expectancy by at least 7.5 years. That's not bad. That's even accounting for age, gender, socioeconomic status, and your physical health. So they did this survey, and what they found was that optimistic people were happier, they had less stress in their lives, and that these optimistic people had certain habits or certain ideas or practices in common that gave them the advantage. Here's 3 of them. They express gratitude, they're randomly kind, they reappraise their lives, reflection, and self-awareness. These are all the things that have been a part of every single one of the practices that we've been dealing with during our fall series. To learn how to express gratitude, to be kind, and to be self-aware, to reappraise our lives, to engage in reflection and self-awareness. So if you have the book, you can continue to work on these 5 practices. You can move on to the additional 5 special practices. If you don't have the book, don't worry about the special practices. They're what we used to call in school, extra credit, right? That kind of thing. The 5 basic practices are more than enough to make a huge difference. Now, our discussion group is not meeting today because of our potluck afterwards. We're going to meet for the last time next Sunday to tie up any loose ends. And for those of you that don't have the book, or if you'd like to be a part of what we've been doing now for the past 6 weeks, all of our talks are online at YouTube. You can link to them from our website. We have audio, I think, of all of them except maybe one that for some reason didn't turn out. If you want the written material that I provide in the bulletin every week, shoot me an email, mark@unityofauburn.com, and I'll send you whichever ones you want, or all of them for that matter, so that you can work with these practices on your own. We can continue to do this, and we're going to have to continue to do this on our own, because guess what? Next Sunday is actually the first Sunday of the Christmas season. The Advent season starts next Sunday, so we're going to move on into the Christmas season, and next Sunday we're going to be talking about Advent consciousness for our Christmas series. So it's not Christmas yet. I'm going to say Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all at the potluck. All right. Thank you.